Hi, everyone. It is so hard to believe that it's been 2 years almost since I made my last video. I promised I'd come back, and I have much later than I anticipated. But the past 2 years have just been so hard. Got sort of swept up in the semester and working. And I don't know if people think that online education is easier than in person, but it sure isn't. And there's been, more work and more suffering all around. I feel like I've aged about a decade, but it's been really nice that people are still finding the YouTube page and listening to me read. So I felt like maybe it was time to come back. Also because January 2022 is feeling a lot like March 2020. I hate to say it. I'm sort of hunkered down until this Omicron wave lets up, hopefully. And so I thought I would read another short novel. It's No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. And it's a very unusual novel, I should say. It's really in two halves. And as you'll see, the first half is sort of all about the internet and what we're doing when we're doom scrolling and procrastinating on the crazy World Wide Web. And the second half tells a much more straightforward and sad story. And I don't want to give too much away, but I just want to say that it is very strange. So you got to come along for the ride. And I'm going to try to do what I did last time, which is, read for about 10 minutes and find a stopping place and post a new video every day and just go through the novel that way. And I hope you're all doing well and hanging in there and feeling some hope for brighter times around the corner. But so let's get started with this. This is No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood, and it was published in 2021. It has an epigraph at the beginning. There will be people on the sun soon. And that's by Vladimir Mayakovsky from I and Napoleon. Part 1. She opened the portal, and the mind met her more than halfway. Inside, it was tropical and snowing, and the first flake of the blizzard of everything landed on her tongue and melted. Close-ups of nail art, a pebble from outer space, a tarantula's compound eyes, a storm like canned peaches on the surface of Jupiter. Van Gogh's The Potato Eaters, a chihuahua perched on a man's erection, a garage door spray painted with the words, "Stop, don't email my wife." Why did the portal feel so private when you only entered it when you needed to be everywhere? She felt along the solid green marble of the day for the hairline crack that might let her out. This could not be forced. Outside, the air hung swagged and the clouds sat in piles of couch stuffing. And in the south of the sky, there was a tender spot where a rainbow wanted to happen. Then 3 sips of coffee and a window opened. "I'm convinced the world is getting too full, LOL," her brother texted her, the one who obliterated himself at the end of every day with a personal comment called Fireball. Capitalism. It was important to hate it, even though it was how you got money. Slowly, she found herself moving toward a position so philosophical, even Jesus couldn't have held it. That she must hate capitalism while at the same time loving film montages set in department stores. Politics. The trouble was that they had a dictator now, which according to some people, white, they had never had before. And according to other people, everyone else, they had only ever been having constantly since the beginning of the world. Her stupidity panicked her, as well as the way her voice now sounded when she talked to people who hadn't stopped being stupid yet. The problem was that the dictator was very funny, which had maybe always been true of all dictators. Absurdism, she thought. Suddenly, all those Russian novels where a man turns into a teaspoonful of blackberry jam at a country house began to make sense. What had the beautiful thought been, the bright profundity she had roused herself to write down? She opened her notebook with the sense of anticipation she always felt on such occasions. Perhaps this would finally be it, the one they would chisel on her gravestone. It read, "Chuck E. Cheese can munch a hole in my you-know-what." After you died, she thought as she carefully washed her legs under the fine needles of water. She had recently learned that some people didn't. You would see that a little pie chart that told you how much of your life had been spent in the shower, arguing with people you had never met. Oh, but like that was somehow less worthy than spending your time carefully monitoring the thickness of beaver houses for signs of the severity of the coming winter. Was she stimming? She feared very much that she was. Things that were always there. The sun, her body, and the barest riffling at the roots of her hair. An almost music in the air, unarranged and primary and swirling, like yarns laid out in their colors waiting. the theme song of a childhood show where mannequins came to life at night in the department store. Anonymous History Channel footage of gray millions on the march, shark-snouted airplanes, silk deployments of missiles, mushroom clouds. An episode of True Life about a girl who liked to oil herself up, get into a pot with assorted vegetables, and pretend that cannibals were going to eat her sexually. The almost formed unthought, is there a bug on me? A great shame about all of it, all of it. Where had the old tyranny gone, the tyranny of husband over wife? She suspected most of it had been channeled into weird ideas about supplements, whether or not vinyl sounded warmer, and which coffee makers were nothing but a shit in the mouth of the coffee Christ. 100 years ago, you would all have been mining coal and had 14 children, all named Jane, she often marveled, as she watched a man stab a finger at his wife in front of the Keurig display. 200 years ago, you might have been in a coffee shop in Göttingen, shaking the daily paper, hashing out the questions of the day, and I would be shaking out sheets from the windows, not knowing how to read. But didn't tyranny always feel like the hand of the way things were? It was a mistake to believe that other people were not living as deeply as you were. Besides, you were not even living that deeply. The amount of eavesdropping that was going on was enormous and the implications not yet known. Other people's diaries streamed around her. Should she be listening, for instance, to the conversations of teenagers? Should she follow with such avidity the compliments that rural sheriffs paid to porn stars, not realizing that other people could see them? What about the threat of women all realizing they had the same exact scar on their knee? I have that scar too, a white woman piped up, but was swiftly and efficiently shut down because it was not the same. She had interrupted an usness. The world in which she got that scar was not the same. She lay every morning under an avalanche of details, list, pictures of breakfasts in Patagonia, a girl applying her foundation with a hard-boiled egg, a Shiba Inu in Japan leaping from paw to greet its owner, ghostly pale women posting pictures of their bruises, the world pressing closer and closer, the spiderweb of human connection grown so thick it was almost a shimmering and solid silk, and the day still not opening to her. What did it mean that she was allowed to see this? If she began to bite her lower lip, as she nearly always did after the milk and civet cat bitterness of her morning coffee, she went into the bathroom with the ivy growing out its bangs outside the window and very carefully painted her mouth a definite, rich top of the piano red, as if she had an underground club to be at later that night, where she would go as bare as a missing sequin, where she would distill the whole sunset cloud of human feeling to a 6-word lyric. Something in the back of her head hurt. It was her new class consciousness. All right, I think maybe I'll stop there today, but you can see that the beginning of this novel is really trying to give us not just the content, as it were, of the internet, but the feeling of what it's like to be, clicking on all these unrelated things. So it's like this for a little while, and then it will change and be more like a conventional novel, but I hope you will stay along for the ride with me and also stay well.